UFC 308 goes down at Etihad Arena in Abu Dhabi. In the main event, it is Ilia Topuria defending the featherweight championship against Max Holloway, with Robert Whittaker and Khamzat Chimaev deciding who the next challenger at 185 pounds will be. Those two, excellent fights. But there are some other real good names that you should keep an eye on this weekend. So here are 4 fighters to keep an eye on for UFC 308. Our first one is actually a fight, not just a fighter. It's but a couple of fighters. Magomed Ankalaev taking on Alexander Rakic. And I think this one, if we have a definitive winner, probably comes away as a number one contenders bout at 205 pounds. So again, we're getting a pretty good card this weekend with a all-time great taking on kind of the next one at 145 pounds, and what I believe to be at least 2 number one contenders fights at middleweight and then at light heavyweight. When you look at the rankings right now, Magomed Ankalaev is sitting in a tie for number one contender with Yuri Prochazka, while Rakic is at 5th. And when you look at the names kind of in between them, also tied with Ankalaev is Yuri Prochazka. Pereira's done that. Jamal Hill, Pereira's done that. Jan Blachowicz, Pereira's done that. And then after, immediately, is Nikita Krylov, who no one's asking for, and Khalil Rountree, where we just saw that. So I think it is probably pretty obvious, actually, that this is a number one contenders fight at 205 pounds with a couple of very intriguing fighters in Ankalaev and in Rakic. Ankalaev, 32 years old, coming off of a win over Johnny Walker after the accidental illegal knee disqualification at UFC 294. And then he did have a title opportunity before but a draw with Jan Blachowicz, and then he just didn't get another title opportunity after that. So now he has a chance to move back into that category with a win. Meanwhile, Rakic, 32 years old, is coming off of back-to-back losses against Blachowicz and Prochazka. But again, knee injury is the reason for the one loss against Jan Blachowicz, and then he does get knocked out by Yuri Prochazka in what was a bit of a surprising performance and a turn-back-the-clock performance by Prochazka at UFC 300. I do think that you would get a bit of a pushback from, certainly from Yuri Prochazka, if he were to get the win, if Rakic were to get the win and leapfrog Prochazka, given, that he just beat him. But after that fight, Prochazka went on to lose to Alex Pereira. So I really do think that, given the only guy ahead of these guys right now just lost his second fight to Pereira, it really doesn't feel like that is necessarily a path that is open to him right now. So I think that this really does kind of drive home that this is a number one contenders fight at 205 pounds. The next one is Sharabutdin Magomedov. Apologies for the pronunciation. Obviously, he's a cat who's got a bit of a unique look, and he has also been winning fights. And I do think that there is a ceiling on where this guy can go in terms of talent levels and things like that. But I also do like that there has been a hesitancy to really rocket him up. I think that given his popularity in this part of the world, and again, you put this guy out there for an interview as a cage fighter, and you're going to get a lot of attention to it. There would be, I think, at different times, a rush to, all right, that title shot this motherfucker. Let's go. Let's just throw him in there and really lock this thing down and get this guy into a bunch of opportunities, and then you put him into a spot he's not ready for and gets the hell beat out of him. I don't think that is going to be the case here. I think that this is someone who they are really slow rolling it with and just letting him go out there, letting him get those wins. He is undefeated, and he's winning all these fights, and they're not kind of rushing it. So I do like how they have approached his growth and his development so far. And the last one is Farid Basharat, who is coming into this one, again, undefeated. He has fought, I think, 2 guys with Wikipedia pages. So again, this isn't a hot shot rising up. This guy wins this fight and he's going to get a title opportunity. He's probably a fight away from being a fight away from a top 15 sort of a look even. But This is still, at 27 years old, he has just been racking up win after win after win. Comes off of a victory on the Contender Series, is now 3-0 in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. I think that this is a guy that we should be watching out for on the undercard to see, like, maybe there is a progression here, and this is someone who could be in for a pretty big 2025 if things continue to go his way. So those are the non-main event fighters that you should be watching for on UFC 208. Coming up tomorrow, we're going to be looking at some other UFC fight announcements and the rest of the UFC calendar as we get ready to head off into 2025.